Well, hello everyone. It's Justin Blaney here with Inkless, and I'm glad to be here presenting with you today on our workshop. It's called Double Your Qualified Leads in Half the Time. So we're going to be going through about 18 different slides here and talking about some strategies to help you generate more qualified leads with less time and money invested. So let's get started. And as we do get started, I want to encourage you to be a part of this interactive workshop by sending in your questions. You can always tweet your questions with the hashtag InklessLive, or you can use the comments form on the page that you are watching the show on. So I encourage you to be a part of the show. You know, there's a lot of chances to read content, to go to conferences where it's one-way communication, but this is a chance that you can share your questions directly with us, and we can get those answered for you during the course of this show. So I'll just talk real quick about myself, about Inkless. Inkless is a company that I'm a part of. We're an agency based in Seattle, and we help companies around the country with their marketing needs. And we're really focused on helping them generate qualified leads. I founded Inkless about 5 years ago. We have a great team, and we're just focused every day on a lot of different marketing tasks. We see websites, email marketing, blogging as all different tools. All of those are tools that are going to help you generate more qualified leads. And so Inkless is hosting this show. And so that's just real quickly about them. You can find out more about Inkless on the website if you're interested. Let's talk about marketing. So marketing has really changed in the last 20 years. I was talking with a good friend of mine, Doug Hall, recently. He's going to be on the show next week. And just talking about how much marketing has changed. It used to be that you could go door to door, literally as an enterprise salesperson, going to businesses, calling on them. You could make a living as a salesperson generating your own leads. And marketing and advertising was really something done by large corporations, Coca-Cola, Budweiser, Hertz Rental Car, companies that are trying to blast out a message to millions of people through, TV stations, billboards. When I was in business school, we learned about all the traditional forms of advertising when we were learning about marketing. And marketing was really a large concept that encompasses everything from product to advertising to distribution. So marketing is really bringing your product to market. That's the traditional definition of the word marketing. But really, in practice today, marketing is completely different. Marketing for most companies is lead generation, and sales closes those leads. So in today's economy, what salespeople need is what sometimes we call sales-ready leads. So these are leads that a salesperson is able to pick up the phone or shoot an email to somebody, and that person that they're contacting wants to hear from them and is ready to buy. They've got the money to buy. They know about the product. They've probably already researched the product and are pretty much decided on who they're going to go with. And so marketing is the process of getting those leads, those people, those customers to the point where they're ready to buy. And sales is really about closing the sale. I'm not talking about high transactional sales here, like car sales, where you can convince somebody to buy a car, that comes on your lot just by sheer ability as a salesperson. I'm talking about purchases that people need to think about over time. They don't want to be pressured to sell, to buy something. And so it's really important that marketing does the job of awareness so that salespeople can focus on, really it's a service-oriented, it's a consultative process, figuring out if the product is right for them, how to price it, and really they're getting them across the finish line. But they're not going out and dialing. If a salesperson is out actually picking up the phone and doing cold calling, that is really a function of marketing. That's awareness. And so the old way of doing marketing has really changed. And so in today's day and age, things are just different. What I have found as I've investigated into what makes today's marketers successful is these three principles that you see on your screen. One, it's important to become known by being helpful. And what I found is that if you can get into the mind of your consumer and figure out a way to help them grow, help them achieve what they want to achieve. I was talking to a company that sells cabinets, and they sell cabinets to huge hotel chains. And so there's a bidding process that takes place, and so what you want to do is, when there's a time for the cabinets to be replaced, what is that person who is responsible for that decision thinking? What are they looking at? Are they going to conferences? Are they picking up the phone and calling a friend? Hey, who did you use for that last job? Are they looking at who they've used in the past? You need to get into the mind of that person and find a way to intersect yourself into that conversation right at that critical moment. And the best way to do that is to start by being helpful. So find a way to help that person so that when that time does come, you are in that conversation. And that brings us to point number 2, which is increasing trust with consistency over time. Because as you need to get in front of that person at that critical time, you can't always time that right. You don't know when that person's boss is going to come in and say, we had a fire, we had a crisis, we need to accelerate the purchase of these cabinets or whatever it is that you sell. So you need to be on their mind ahead of time. You can't just react and hope that you get on their mind at that moment. There are strategies for doing that. If, for example, that person might go to Google and type in cabinet manufacturers for large hotel chains. Well, there's a way to intersect yourself into that conversation at that moment, but that can be very expensive. And that should only be one piece of your awareness strategy, because you're only going to be capturing a certain number of people that are doing it at that time. So you want to back up from that. And at some point prior to that moment, you want to cause yourself to become known by that person by helping them. And then 2, over time, you're increasing your trust and consistency. You're staying in front of that person. So you have to invent ways to continue to be helpful to this person. And then 3, you need to make it easy for people to understand your unique value and to get engaged with what it is that you're doing. So the value that you offer is incredibly important. You might have an intrinsic knowledge of that you can't quite articulate. Your customers might have a feeling, or they might all say something different, but that's too nebulous in today's cluttered economy. You have to know exactly what your value is and be able to state it the same way every time, clearly, concisely, in all your communications, so that people actually know if you're the best solution for selling cabinets on the market, that is what you do. Because they might be confused. They might think that you just do a piece of it, or they might forget that you do that. So, and they might forget, what is your value? Because maybe you're a little bit more expensive than the competition. Well, that's fine, as long as there's a reason for that to be more expensive. Maybe you have a different value. Your cabinets last twice as long, so it's okay to be 20% more. Well, all of that needs to be clearly communicated to the customer, to the potential client, on a continuous basis, because people have a million things going on. I mean, I look at my email box right now, 120 unread messages. So if you want to try to get my attention, you need to make it really easy for me to continue to remember and understand your unique value, because I have 120 emails that I need to go through this afternoon, and I can't think about all the people that I might want to buy from. So it's on the seller's job to make that clear, and then also to make it easy to engage with you. Is it easy to call you? Is there a clear contact form? Is there a clear call to action in your communication? Don't just leave people hanging when you help them. You have to have something that calls them to action. What is the one thing that you'd love for this person to do? Is it call you? Well, that would be one thing, but maybe there's a lot of other things. Maybe you can get them to come to your website and get a free download. Maybe you could get them to come to an open house. You need to decide based on what you know about your customers, your products, the process that you go through. What is the easiest thing that I can get this person to do next? And then once they do that, you ask the question again, what is the easiest thing I can do to get this person to do something more? And then as you're doing these little things, these little baby steps, you're building this relationship over time. So let's get into a little bit of each of these 3 steps a little bit deeper and talk about how they might be applied in different contexts. Become known by being helpful. The old saying is that it's all who you know, and that's really not quite accurate, because it's really about who knows you. I've met a lot of people over the years, and some of these people are influential. Some of these people run large companies. I've met them, so you could say that I know them, but they don't know me. And if I want to sell to that organization, or if I want to serve that organization, maybe I want to add that organization as a partner. It doesn't matter if I know them; they have to know me. And the best way to become known by somebody is to help them. So I need to be inventive. The easy way is to just send a check-in email. Easy is the enemy of good marketing, because really good marketing, when it's centered on helping people, is actually really hard work. I fall into this all the time. I want to follow up with a client, somebody who I've engaged with in the past, who's maybe even asked for a proposal. And the first thing I want to do is email them and just say, "Hey, I'm just checking in. Wanted to see if you were, had any more thoughts on that proposal." That's the easy thing to do, but it's not helpful. What I'm trying to do is help myself instead of helping them. If I can instead change that around, and maybe I spend 5-10 minutes looking through the local newspaper or a magazine, and I find an article that's relevant to that person, then I could email them a link to it and say, "Hey, I found this article and I thought of you. Back when we talked, you had mentioned this, and the article sort of addresses it." See how much different that is than saying, "Hey, can we talk about that proposal I sent you? What I really want is your money." And it's just a completely different conversation. Now, when you send that helpful email, it's important to not just leave it there. Once you've been helpful, maybe you could close out and call attention back to the proposal that you sent, and say that you're excited to engage on that at some point when they're available. Because if you just send the helpful email, it goes back to point number 3. You're not making it easy to engage or have a call to action. So maybe have some call to action to back engage with that process. So that's the idea of about, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. One thing to keep in mind is it's important to identify who your perfect prospect is. We talked about getting inside the mind of your target market, and you have to customize. Nobody can really do this for you. People can help you do it, but your customer better than I do or anybody else. And so what you really need to do is really know who it is that you're trying to serve, and then get inside their mind, walk in their shoes. What are they doing today? What kind of pain are they experiencing? That's a great question. And if you can ask that and find a way to help solve a problem for them, you're well on your way to separating yourself from 99.9% of other people who are trying to get money from this person. So it's about figuring out who your target market is, and inventing ways to help them. There's a lot of ways, I call them tools in the toolbox. I mentioned at the beginning of the call, Inkless is a marketing agency, and we have a lot of different tools. A website is a tool. A blog is a tool. A video is a tool. Each of those things can be helpful, but they're not necessarily helpful for your target audience. You need to customize the tool set that you're using to get this in front of your target market in a way that's incredibly helpful to them. Step 2, increase trust through consistency over time. So this is a critical step, because again, when you are trying to help somebody, you're not always going to intersect with them at the moment that they need your service. So you need to not only discover a way to help them once, but you need to discover a way to continue to help them over time. Let's talk about a few ways to do that. And these are tools that we can use in order to help our customers over time. One is running a blog. Blogs are incredibly valuable tools to continue to help people. If you can create a product that is downloadable, some piece of information that you have inside your head, that you know the best practices in your industry. You know how to help the people that you want to serve. So figure out a way to put that into writing. You can hire a ghostwriter to do that. You don't need to be a writer. You can have somebody on staff do that for you. But it's incredibly important to put what you know into writing. And then where are you going to put that writing? Well, there's a number of things you could do. You could email it out to people. Um, you could um, you could put it into an ebook. We'll talk about that later. But really, a great place to put it is in a blog. Why not have a blog where you can host a repository of information that's helpful to your target market? Now, a lot of companies end up using blogs as a sort of company announcements, job offerings, new products. You can do those things, but that's a lower use of your blog space, I believe. I think that the majority of your blogs should be incredibly helpful to your audience. And this is a great time to bring up the importance of not going halfway. There are a million blogs out there that they start for a little bit and then they stop for a while and then they post a blog and 9 months later, and it's obvious that their heart's not in it. If you want to do a blog, make sure you can commit to a certain schedule and don't skimp on the content. Because if somebody comes to your blog and they see that you obviously needed to turn in a blog this Friday night, it was Friday afternoon, you had 2 hours before the end of the day, and you had a bunch of emails to respond to, so you went and kind of grabbed a couple things off the internet from other people, kind of borrowed a little bit here or there, smashed it all up, and then threw that thing online. That's going to be obvious to most people that you didn't really spend the time and energy on that blog that you could have. But if you instead really invest in this blog and you really pour your best ideas into this thing, and you hire a writer to help you make sure that it flows well and the sentences are crisp and clean, and you have an editor check for spelling and grammar, and you post that thing up with all the best practices, pictures, and that is going to stand out. And yes, it's a lot of work, but it would be better to do a few of those consistently than a ton of junk. A ton of junk is just going to, it's like, buying a ton of junk at cheap stores. The stuff breaks down, and before you know it, you're taking double the trips to Goodwill to donate all this stuff. Instead, just invest in higher quality stuff from the beginning, and it's going to last you a lot longer, make a better impression. And that's one of the keys with running a blog. So these are just some of the tools that you can use to accomplish step number 2, which is increasing trust with consistency over time. Social media is incredibly important. A lot of people misunderstand social media. They don't understand the value that they get from it, and so they don't really invest in it. Sometimes they don't enjoy it, and so they don't invest in it. Social media is one tool. It's an important tool because there are billions of people that use social media as a primary means of communication. So if you want to reach those people and you're not on social media, it's kind of like coming to a party and standing in the corner by yourself. If you want to reach those people, you have to start talking and you have to start listening. So if one key question with social media is my audience talking on social media? If they're using it, then I should be using it. And if I can't use it well because I don't understand it or I don't like it, then I should hire somebody that does. Because and the costs don't have to be high. Even for $500 a month, you can do a lot of good on social media by hiring an outside company or a stay-at-home mom or dad who used to do it full time, but now they're they want to work 5-10 hours a week. These are people that would be fantastic to bring on as your social media people if it's something that you don't really get. Email is really the king of staying in touch with people over time. Social media threatened to take this over, but I don't see that happening anytime soon with today's current trends and culture. Email is still the king of getting a hold of people. So you should have a really good email list that you care about, that you foster when you meet new people. Put them on the list, find ways to to have a free offer so that when they come to your website, you're building your list organically. You want to have really good practices in place so that when you post a blog, not only can you talk about it on social media, but you have a really nice list of people to send it out to. So getting your email just right is really important. One of the things we're going to do in this series of workshops is talk about each one of these different tools for engaging with people over time, the different aspects of marketing in today's crazy world. We're going to really dive into one of these topics at a time and spend a whole hour talking about it with questions, answers, trying to give specific examples. Email is one of those things. This particular show is just an overview, so we can talk about kind of the big picture, and then we're going to start diving in future shows. Becoming an author is another way to build trust and consistency over time. Nothing is better than handing somebody a copy of your book after you've met them, especially if that book has something in it that's going to help them with the business that they operate, or in their homes, or whatever it is that you sell. This works for B2B and B2C. You build a lot of credibility. You show that you have authority in the marketplace, that you have a lot of good information. You show that you've thought these things through, you've invested in yourself. You have a lot of validity because you have that book. You can have a paperback book and an ebook. Both are important, I think. If I was going to only have one, I would have the ebook first and then the paperback, because ebooks are far better for engaging with people online. They can quickly put their information into your website and get that download and instantly start reading it, even if it's a PDF on their computer. Whereas a paperback, it's actually, ironically, it's really hard to give away paperback copies online, because when people are online, they want to engage online. And if they have to put in their info and have something mailed to them, that's like a really big hurdle to get over. The paperbacks are really helpful when you're at a conference or you're meeting people face to face or you're speaking, because it's just the best business card you can ever have. So again, this is like blogging. You don't have to do it yourself. You can hire people to do it for you. And it is expensive. It takes time. I can't think of a better sales tool for many, many companies than having your own book. And there's still, most of your competition does not have one yet. So I don't know how long this is going to be an edge, because many, many more people are doing it. So now's the time to do it, so you can stay ahead before all your competition has them and you're the last person that doesn't have your own book. That's kind of, in today's marketplace, things are changing so fast, you have to stay ahead of that. And when you can be on the front of the curve, you can stand out from your competition. If you wait until everybody else has done it, then you're going to constantly be behind. So becoming an author is important. These are all different ways to do step 2, which was building consistency over time. But step 3 is equally important, and that's making it easy to understand your unique value and buy what it is that you have to offer. So let's talk about that a little bit more. One of the most critical things is being easy to refer. I don't know if you participate in a lot of networking groups, if you've been to leads groups. These are, if you haven't heard of them, they're incredibly valuable for a lot of companies. Oftentimes they're occupied by different people of different industry niches. So you have an insurance agent, a roofer, a chiropractor, and then all these people get to know each other. And when they hear about somebody needing a roofer, they can refer to that person in the group because they have some trust with that person. They've been having breakfast with them every week for a couple of years, playing golf, getting to know them. And because all these people are in this tight-knit group, there's sort of reinforced norms and standards, so that if the roofer screws up a job, he's going to have a lot of flack to deal with from the other group, because they're going to say, hey, we can't refer to you if you screw up a job. You got to go fix this thing. So there's kind of a standard that people need to adhere to in order to stay in the group. So generally you can, get good referrals and give good referrals in groups like this. But one of the most important things, you can go to one of these groups and never get a single referral if you're not easy to refer to. The same thing is true when you're trying to get referrals from your customers. So, everybody says, oh, I get all my business from customer referrals. Well, not everybody actually gets that. And a lot of people, they don't get it because they're hard to refer to. People don't know how to refer to them. It's important for us as the person who wants a referral to make it easy on people to refer to us. What does that mean? That means making sure that you know what your unique value is, because if you don't know it, you're not going to be able to communicate it to anybody else. And then if you can't communicate it, they sure won't know it. And if they don't know your value, they're not going to be able to talk about you to their friends. So you want it to be so clear and memorable that when this referral partner is having coffee with a friend of hers, she can bring you up in a conversation. And this third party is saying, hey, I need help with my taxes. And your referral partner knows your value so well that she can actually sell you to that person instead of you having to sell. And by the time the lead comes to you, the person's already ready to buy. So being easy to refer has a lot to do with making your unique value clear to yourself and to everyone around you. It also means having a referral kit. Maybe that means a book, maybe that means a white paper. There's things that you can give to people that they can give out on your behalf when something comes up. This is something we're going to dive into a lot more in future shows, but being easy to refer is on you. And if you're not getting referrals, chances are it's because one of these things isn't in place. You're not easy to refer, because almost any type of business, any business that I've encountered can receive good quality referrals. So if they're not receiving them, it's probably something that they're doing or not doing that's causing that to happen. Another factor of step 3 is storytelling. Now, if you want to talk about your unique value and you want to list it out as a bullet point list, that's one way to do it, but it's not going to be very memorable. If you can instead put those bullet points into a story, if you can go into a meeting and you can say, let me tell you a story about somebody that I recently met. And this story is all about this customer of yours. You're bragging about them. You're talking about how great they're doing. And you, in your service or your product, is weaved through the story without being salesy. That is going to be remembered 100 times more than any bullet point list, no matter how many times you repeat it. So you want to become a master storyteller. And if you're not a master storyteller, if you don't think you have any hope of being one, then you need to find somebody that can do that for you. Because the truth is, the best storyteller is always going to win. If your competition is better at telling stories than you, they may not even know they're telling stories, but they might be better at it. Then you're constantly going to be wondering, why are we losing customers to this person? It's because they're telling better stories, and story has been and will always be the best way of communicating ideas. One reason is storytelling can make you feel something. Have you ever read a bullet point list and felt something? I doubt it. But have you ever heard a story and felt something? I'll always remember, I had the privilege of doing some songwriting for a while in Nashville, and I just loved how a song in just 2-3 minutes can really make you feel something deeply. And that's a story. It's a very short story, and it's a story nonetheless. So you can make somebody cry in 3 minutes with a song. There are short stories. There's a six word story that is credited to Ernest Hemingway that goes like this. Baby shoes for sale, never used. Something like that. I'm doing it from memory. 6 words. Baby shoes for sale, never used. Now that can make you feel something if you think about it for a second. In just 6 words, this tiny little story can make you feel something. Now let's say we did that like a bullet point list. Okay, we've got shoes for sale. They've got laces. They have a sole. They're made from fabric. Which is more impacting? Which is more memorable? It's the story, of course. And so I'm just a huge believer in story, and I think that most of us don't do it. I don't do it oftentimes as well as I could because it's just a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to sit down and craft a story. It's much easier to take a shortcut and just list out something. But it's so much worth it to take that time whenever possible. So we need to have people on our teams that love story, that encourage us to use it more. It needs to be a part of our culture. If we do that, if we can become the best storyteller in our niche, I believe we can be the biggest and best and most profitable company in our niche or organization, because the best storyteller really does win in the end. So let's just recap these 3 principles real quick. This is all about helping people. Step 1, become known by helping people. This is the best way to build your business that I've seen. I've seen a lot of companies, a lot of people become incredibly successful. And this principle really came out of that. I was looking at these people, these companies that are successful, and this kept coming up again and again, that they just care about other people. They really want to help people. It's core to who they are. They're not in it for the money. They love helping people, and then they get ahead. Number 2, increasing trust with consistency over time. Again, you need to intersect with your client at just the right moment so that when they need what you have to offer, they think of you. Well, you're not going to be able to do that unless you have a way, unless you invent ways to increase trust by consistently staying in touch with them. But you can't keep asking them, hey, do you want to do business? Hey, do you want to do business? That will quickly put you into the category of, I hate this person for bugging me so much. You don't want to do that. You want to just be helpful. And then 3, making it easy for people to understand and buy your unique value. So those are the 3 basic principles. And that is how I've seen companies become incredibly successful at marketing in today's cluttered world. And if you do that properly, and if you follow through all of these steps, and if you automate this process, automation is key, you can create a sales funnel that is dropping out highly qualified leads to your customers. And that's what this is all about. This is expensive in terms of time. It does cost money. It does takes a certain amount of patience. And yet it's much less costly than purchasing ads and just blasting your message out again and again and again. What most advertisers are resulting to today is really spamming. They're buying a method for getting a message in front of a consumer that is annoying enough that they hope that someday enough people click on it, and that they can almost trick people into buying something. That's what a lot of advertising comes down to. We don't want to be a part of that. One, it's just really expensive. I don't think it works for most companies today. It works if you are the largest company in your marketplace and you're defending your market share. If you are GoDaddy.com and you need to purchase a couple of Super Bowl ads every year, because if you don't, some new startup is going to capture some of the customers that you already have. There's a place for it. It's just not for most small businesses, it just doesn't work. It doesn't pencil out. So yes, this form of marketing, which I call helping, it's all based on helping. It is expensive. It does take time and it takes patience, but it's far less expensive and far more effective than anything else I've experienced in my 15 years of marketing. And I've talked to people who have been doing this a lot longer than me, and they've experienced the shift. I came into this after the shift had pretty much already happened. And so I'm in a fortunate position where from the very beginning, this is how I've learned to do marketing. Other people have had to change. They used to do it other ways, and they've started to discover that doesn't work, and they've had to figure out a new way of doing it. So, the title of this workshop is Doubling Your Qualified Leads in Half the Time. A lot of people have almost no leads. They have no awareness. So doubling that, is relatively simple. And these principles, I've seen them work time and time again, where companies can start to implement a system of helping people. And if you have the right systems in place and you get the right people on board, you can more than double your qualified leads. And this system can help qualify those leads. Some of the things that we talked about, the different downloads, the ebooks that you want to offer. Each time somebody gets one of those things from you, you should be able to qualify them a little bit more. You should be able to find out a little bit more about them. What are their sales? What position are they in their company? These are things that help you and your salespeople know whether they're worth talking to or not. If it's a consumer, what income range are they in? What neighborhood are they in? Are they in your target market? And if they're not, you can put them onto a drip campaign, or you can continue to let them subscribe to your blog, because maybe someday they will be in your target market. And if they are in your target market and they've been engaging with you and downloading these things again and again, this is how you're qualifying that lead. They're going from just being generally aware of you to eventually you can look at this person and you can say, man, they've gone to 3 of my events, they've downloaded this and that, they've been to my website this many times, they're in my income bracket, they're the right position, they're a decision maker. Man, pick up the phone and call that person. That person's ready to buy. And oftentimes when you have that conversation with them, it goes something like this. They say, man, I'm so glad you called. I've been thinking about reaching out to you. I just haven't had time yet. And, we've got a problem here at my company, or I've got a problem in my home, and you're the person that I need to fix it. So, let's have coffee. Let's have a consultation. Let's get this thing going. So much different than calling people who hang up on you, who aren't ready to talk, who waste your time. I mean, we've all had, anybody in sales, any small business owner has had countless times when that has happened. And we want to eliminate that as much as possible. This system helps you eliminate that. So in the course of this series, which I hope that you'll continue to be a part of, and bring your questions so we can apply these things in your specific context, we're going to dial in and dive into exactly how each of these steps works to build your business, to double your leads in half the time. One of the other titles we have is Fire Half Your Salespeople and Double Your Revenue. Because a lot of salespeople today are doing marketing. They're not doing sales, they're doing lead generation. And you probably don't need them if you get your marketing working properly. What you need is sales-ready leads. So over the course of this series, we're going to bring in different guests to help us dive into these things more and more. And we're going to have a Q&A time during each of these sessions to make it as applicable to your context as possible. And I hope that you will be a part of it as we continue to move forward. This is designed to help small businesses grow their companies, grow their revenues, attain their goals. And Inkless was really founded on a simple idea, and that is that there are a lot of small businesses who have great products, great services, and aren't growing as fast as they should be. And it's something I saw, and it just drove me crazy. It made me sad for my friends who own businesses who are really good salespeople. Most business people are good salespeople, but they're not getting in enough leads to grow their business. So they're having to struggle with the sales. Most of them, frankly, they hate marketing. What they want to do is the work. They love working with the customer, and they love doing whatever it is that they do best. And they frankly, they kind of hate the marketing side. And most of them aren't very good at it because they're good at something else. Now, many of them could be good at it if they had the time to invest in it, but that doesn't make sense. So I founded Inkless to fill that gap, because I thought, there's these great products, these great services that if they only had more leads, they could really take off. And so this whole series is going to be designed to helping fill that gap. I want to teach you to do this yourself. And if you can't do it yourself, or if you decide to hire somebody to do it, we can talk about how to evaluate that. There's a lot of options. You can hire employees, freelancers, agencies. This series is about helping you reach your revenue goals, and doing it by having fun. Frankly, I mean, helping people is fun. What better way is there to grow your business than to simply help people? It's not salesy. It's not pushy. People like you more. People, like when you're around. You start getting um, requests for speaking gigs, and people want you to come be a part of their event because they're like, man, this business owner is really helpful. And that's really what this is all about. In the book that I wrote, it's called Famously Helpful. And the idea is that if you can become famous for how helpful you are, you're never going to need to look for another customer again, because they will come to you. They will know that you're helpful. You're famous for how helpful you are. And that's really the magic that we want to unlock for you. So again, I hope that you will come back and be a part of this series. We're going to be broadcasting the show. Check out on Inkless.com. There's no strings attached, no sales pitch. It's purely us practicing what we're preaching. We want to be helpful to you, and we want to teach you how to do what you need to do your business better. So check back again with Inkless.com. And if you haven't downloaded a free copy of Famously Helpful, I encourage you to do so. You can do that at famouslyhelpful.com. And email me. Let me know what you think of that book. I'm looking for more stories to help illustrate it out, and we're going to release a new version shortly. And I hope to see you next week with your questions for your business, for your organization. And it's going to be a great series. So check back Inkless.com. We'll give you the dates and times for the next show. And I'll be talking to you all again soon. Take care, everyone.